welcome back to my channel. My name is Kristen, for those of you who do not know me and you're new to the channel. We also had a big storm that kind of came through, and I had posted a video about my rose bush that I really love had fallen over. So we got that rose bush picked back up, and then I came walking through the garden again and I found that our papaya is fallen over. So that's going to be another task that we have to figure out and pick this papaya tree back up. Papayas are very weak rooted in my opinion, plus they're sitting here in sandy soil, so it fell over. These are definitely not plants that you would want to have if it's really breezy where you live, unless you've got some type of stabilizer for it, because this is what's going to end up happening. So I'm going to have to wait and have my fiance and maybe one of his friends come over, and we're going to try to pull this up. And then I think what's going to happen is I'm just going to go ahead and tie it off. Other than that, the garden has been doing really well. I have been just growing a lot. Over here we have the mustard greens. You can see they're starting to go to seed, which I'm actually pretty excited about. They look like little broccoli heads. And then you can see my sunflowers. They're kind of wilty. I think the wind has just really gotten to them, and they're just got beat up, and they're feeling like looking a little old these days, but they have some beautiful heads on them. I'm gonna take the seeds out of these and grow more flowers. I really like this dark red one kind of in the back that you guys can see. Like, all the petals are basically off. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna end up seed saving. Look at that. You can see here the seed pods are already starting to come through. So all you got to do is just rub these back when you want to save the seeds out of them, and it'll just fall off. I'm gonna wait a little bit. The outer edge is obviously going to be much easier than the middle part, and it'll dry out on its own, even just on the plant, and I'll come back and just basically deadhead these, cut them off, and then if need be I'll just pull the bottoms out, and then I'm going to keep these seeds if the squirrels don't get to them. Sounds like Betty's back there barking. Is a bunch of mustards, because I make a mustard green pesto, which I'm going to walk you guys through and show you how to do that. It's actually super easy. We're going to make one together, but the recipe is, if you want to just try it on your own now, it's basically, I would probably say close to maybe a pound of mustard greens, and then you're going to probably put 1/3 cup of olive oil, your choice, and a little bit of salt. And then I like to do pecans instead of pine nuts, because I actually have an allergy to pine nuts, so we use pecans. And then I put it in a food processor and I blend it up really well. And then we got the I call it like a suck and seal, but it's the seal bags, and then you can just drop those in the freezer if you don't want to can it. And because I have so many mustard greens, that bed's full of mustard greens, this bed is full of mustard greens, my bed over in the corner has a ton of mustard greens right now for the fall. What I'm going to do with the leftover greens is I'm going to turn them under into the bed, and that will help prevent or lessen the effects of the nematodes. Over the summer, past summer, I had sweet potatoes growing in that back bed over here, and what ended up happening was that the nematodes were just ravaging the ground, and I didn't have the opportunity to get really any sweet potatoes. There was maybe 4 of them, and that was it. So all right, and I'm noticing down here is that we have a really huge radish, which is a Daikon radish. So as you can see, is we've got this huge Daikon radish. Look how big this thing is. It's massive. It's so big that it's actually sticking up out of this container. Oh my goodness. Holy moly. Look at this thing. Look how huge. Let me get some of these out of the way. We'll just make compost with these. It was so big that it was popping out of the ground. Like, it was, this much was out of the surface. Look at that. That is basically as long as my arm is. That is massive. This is how you want a radish, because you can put this and make the Korean radishes. Out of them, that's what we do. That's just a refrigerator recipe. I'm gonna put it over here for now. Give it back to the bed. But yeah, man, that's awesome. I can't wait to wash that up and get into that. That is so cool. This is perfect. Now these are a little spicy, but like I said, if you do the Korean radish recipe on these, you won't have as much of that heat that I don't really care for. But man, that thing, you can also saute these. Look at my hand around there. Like that's, I don't have big hands, but that's really massive. Isn't that cool? That's the fun part about growing, is that you never know what you're gonna end up getting. So yay for the radishes. So let's go back over here. I'm sure you can hear Betty. I've also got right now is tomatoes, which most people don't have their tomatoes in yet, but here in Florida, this is definitely one of the things that you can easily grow. And especially in the winter and the fall. I saw somebody on Facebook, which I don't normally get too involved in Facebook, but I had someone, oh look, there's more mustard greens over there. That's what I'm saying, because I'm going to turn this all back under. So I had someone on Facebook who was someone that I had went to school with, and they were putting up a little plastic kind of greenhouse, and they were super excited. I could tell that they were new growers, and they basically were trying to grow in this greenhouse, and I felt really bad for them because we live in Florida, and they had a back porch area, so it's not like there wasn't something like to protect the vegetables that they want to grow. But they have a little greenhouse. Let me tell you some advice. Here in Florida, you definitely, I'm not gonna say you definitely, but you may want to consider growing in a greenhouse. Reconsider that, because honestly, it gets so hot here that your vegetables are basically gonna cook. So you really, unless you leave the door open, if you're just using it as like a little area for that, that's fine. But I have noticed that if you have a greenhouse, a lot of other people that have tried to do it that way, they get a lot more type of fungal issues within their soil and on their plants and the roots, and so that's not really good. And that's basically, I'm sure that thing probably costs like, you know, $50 to $100. I would have personally probably invested in maybe just some of the buckets and then grown that way. So that's just food for thought. If you're interested in growing something, that might be a better way to go, is spend your money on getting the buckets in the soil, like the ones that you can get from Home Depot or something like that, the white buckets. Or I think I've mentioned this before, is you can go to other places and ask them if they have food grade buckets, and then you can utilize them there. But today I'm just kind of taking it easy, just going around looking at the damage after the storm, seeing what we have going on. And obviously Betty's intrigued with something because she keeps barking. And I am going to be processing this Daikon radish in the Korean relish that I do. So I just want to check in with everybody, see how everybody's doing, and I'm sure that everyone is getting excited to basically here starting next month to get new plants into the ground. So you will be seeing us in the next couple weeks starting to turn these beds under, and except for my tomato areas, I'm going to keep those. But I also have, I have some arugula that I forgot to show you guys. I have been doing tons of arugula. I personally love arugula. It's super delicious, got a nice little spice to it. I have so much arugula that I ended up giving my parents, you know, the plastic bags that you get at the grocery store. I gave my parents 2 full bags of that, a half a bag of tomatoes, and they're gonna do the arugula with tomatoes and clams. They've already been processing that and sticking it in their deep freeze. And I just got the bags to do the suck and seal, and we're gonna go ahead and like start processing the arugula that way as well, so that way we can try to keep this harvest and then have it all year round, because this is really a vegetable. Arugula is really something that you want to grow during the fall because it has a much sweeter taste. The same with the greens. I love mustard greens compared to collard greens, or because collard greens are kind of waxy and kind of have that cabbagey texture to them, and that's not my favorite. While I'll eat it, it's like kind of squeaky, and I'm not really a big fan of that. So it's just preference. But if you are growing some mustard greens and you're not sure what to do with them as much as like I have, and you've shared with your neighbors and you've shared with your friends, go ahead and look up that recipe for making the pesto, because I think you'll really enjoy that. I gave some to my brother. He put some of that on the chicken. I gave some of that to my mom. She put it on pasta. I've also done it on the pasta. I've given it to other family. So one of the other people that I had given it to, they actually put it on a steak. After the steak was done, they just smeared it on top, and they ended up really liking that recipe. So if you guys have any neighbor, if you guys have any ideas or anything that you are interested in posting down at the bottom in the comments for recipes, that would be super great. All right guys, until next time, thanks for joining me, and I will see you on the next video. All right, so here's that big radish that we just brought in. It's making my sink absolutely filthy, but that's all right. I use that sponge to actually just clean the bottom of the sink with it when I bring dirt into the house like this, which I really should have washed it outside, but it'll be all right. Look how massive that radish is. I mean, that's insane, but look how pretty it is. So beautiful. You could literally just roast this if you wanted. You could just end up just cutting it. I have like that little mandala thing that you use, and you just slice it up. You can actually just throw this in the oven around 350, maybe 400, put a little olive oil on it, and you're good to go. Roasting it, put whatever flavors you like on it, and just eat it roasted. You actually don't have to eat it raw. I think that's the downside to like some people. They just think, like, that don't know and haven't been growing in their garden, they think, oh my goodness, like what am I going to do with this radish? And that's just one of the things that you can do is actually roast it. So I don't normally use this sponge too often, but my loofah wasn't really producing this year. The squirrels, I take that back. The loofah's been producing, but the squirrels, yeah, they got to it before basically I could. Super easy. We're just gonna cut this up here. This would definitely be something that I would make for dinner, or it's so big just for 2 people. I mean, that's just 1 seed. So if you're just a small family, and you want to do something different with it, like I said, roasting it's a really good thing to do. Or if you've already got some made up, the pickled radishes, you can just throw this in that same jar and just utilize what's in that pickled radish jar. So basically you get the idea of it. I mean, look how thin and beautiful that is. They're super delicious. I love them. Yeah, really good. Nice and spicy. And as you guys already see, I've got a jar. And so while this jar happens to be full, I have another jar in the refrigerator that's not so full. And this is what it looks like after you've pickled them. The Korean pickled radishes. Go and check out that recipe. And I'm going to continue getting this ready so that we can process it and probably add it more to the other Korean pickled radishes. My family loves these. My dad loves them especially, my mom and dad. So look at that, one seed. You get this massive abundance. You know, I think if you really wanted to, you could probably treat it like a turnip and like smush it. I don't know if it'd be too fibery, but I've actually never tried that, but it sounds like it might be a good idea to get out there and try. But I know my friends and family love this. So there you go. Look at that big old pile right here. That's really a lot. That's a lot of radish for one seed. So hopefully everybody gets kind of excited about this idea that you can make these radishes different ways. I think a lot of people just think about eating them with salads. But there's obviously other ways to do this. So thank you all for joining me today. I just kind of want to give you a brief little tour around the garden. And I need to get here in the kitchen and start cooking. I'm going to actually start recording some cooking videos because a lot of my clients and people that I know have been asking me, like, what do you eat? How do you, how are you making these things? Do you just make up your own recipes? And a lot of times I actually do. Like one of the recipes that I found, which I know is a substitute kind of for using these, is sometimes I think they're called nacho potatoes, and basically they're just thinly sliced nacho or potatoes that you use with this mandala. You just thinly slice them. You're gonna toss them in the oven. There's recipes all over the internet for them. I think they're called, maybe they're called taco potatoes. I'm gonna have to look that up and share with you guys. But basically what it is I can take these radishes though and substitute them for the potatoes, and it gives it a really nice spice. You can put some ground burger over the top if that's what you like. You can do chicken. I think that the burger or the plant-based burger does a much better job. You roast these really quickly, kind of get them nice and crisp, and then you're gonna put your cooked toppings on. So if you've already like ground up some burgers, just like you do with tacos, but these are gonna be like radish nachos, and you're just gonna do like whatever you like. If you like your cheese, put your cheese on there, put your diced onions, small onions or chives. If you like sour cream, obviously do that. Do whatever you would normally do if it's taco night, except now you can substitute it with a delicious Daikon radish. So find ways to utilize what you have in your garden, and it will save you a lot of money, and it will actually save you time because you don't have to go to the grocery store and start thinking about what am I gonna make, or buy that processed food such as like the chips. You know, it's just something easy. It didn't really take me that long to slice it, and so now you've got radishes in a couple ways. You can roast it, you can do the taco nacho radish dish that I have talked about, or you can actually just go ahead and do the Korean pickled radishes, which makes them a little bit sweeter, and this is a refrigerator recipe, so you are going to need to eat those within a short period of time. All right, everybody, thank you for joining me today. Betty is telling me that someone is in the yard. So I hope everyone is having a great day out there, and don't be afraid to get out there and try something different and try something new, and just give growing a chance. So, all right, until next time, thank you guys for watching. I really do truly appreciate it, and for spending time with me. I know that everybody has busy lives and the world is in such chaos, so I'm praying for each and every one of you to remain safe and healthy and happy and financially stable while we see what this year's elections will be like and see where our world is going. All right, love everyone, hugs, see you in the next video.